Hello, my name is Alan Sivakamaran. I work with the prevention team at the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Tarrant County. Our mission as an agency is to enable all young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible citizens. Due to the current circumstances, our doors are closed for the safety of our youth, parents, and staff. It breaks my heart that we are not able to be with our kids right now, and I want to say to our kids, we miss you so much and we think about you often. We are hoping for the situation to improve soon so that we can open our doors and start seeing you again. Until that day happens, we are making adjustments. Our mission stays the same, to continue educating and empowering our youth. We have decided to start a video podcast series to talk to incredible people who can provide insight on various topics. Everybody is struggling in some way and trying the best that they can to make it through these circumstances. We want to be real and be genuine about the struggles that we're experiencing, but we also want to share our knowledge and insight to provide hope in these tough times. So today, what we're going to do is I am going to introduce to you the queen of prevention, somebody who's been in this field for a long time. It is my boss, the director of prevention services here at the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Tarrant County, Miss Heather Bresendine.
Thank you, Alan. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I like that introduction. I like being called the queen of prevention.
Exactly. You are.
Okay.
Where are you talking from?
So I'm talking from my bedroom because it has a door that locks. As many of you know, we're having to kind of stay at home and self-isolate. So that's where I am currently.
Great. Yeah, I mean, it's a good place to, practice our social distancing, the shelter in place that's in there till the end of this month so far. And yeah, that's good to know. When's the last time we saw each other in person?
Oh, gosh. It had to have been during spring break.
Yeah.
So it's been a few weeks.
It has been a while.
It's weird, for sure.
It is. Have you been to the club since the closure, since we closed?
I have. I've been fortunate enough to do the food distribution that we've been providing each afternoon. So for 2 weeks right after spring break, I participated in that activity. And it was a lot of fun because I had been at the house for so long. It was good to get back into kind of hanging out with other adults and seeing old coworkers and getting to talk to the community a little bit. And the families were so appreciative that we were able to offer them something, even though our doors were closed.
Yeah, definitely. I did it the other day. I did it on Tuesday. And yeah, it was a great experience to be able to go out, be on the front lines, give back to the community, especially during this time. And so, yeah, I enjoyed it. It's really hard, though, to see some of our kids and they're just to be distant and to be so far. And so it's a challenging time. But I mean, that's just where we are at right now.
That's right.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, how is your, haven't had a chance to talk to you that much, but how has your life changed during this COVID-19 pandemic that we're experiencing right now?
It's changed a lot. I and my husband are fortunate in that we got to keep our jobs. Neither one of us have been laid off, so blessings there. And we both are able to work from home, which is nice. But it's also a struggle because we do have 2 little kids at home. We have a 9-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl. So my 9-year-old is now doing homeschooling things. And my 3-year-old is a 3-year-old and she needs a lot of attention. So it's hard to kind of separate work and life when they're both under the same roof. But we're doing the best we can. And I feel like we've kind of got a little bit of a routine in place. We had to lay down some boundaries as far as closed doors means we're not screaming, and we find someone to help us that's not on the phone. So it's just it's kind of a trial and error process, but I think we're in good shape right now. So.
Right. Have you had to suspend your kid from school yet?
I thought about failing him, but no. He has been been a godsend to me because he's so good with his sister. So he's kind of doing double duty. We told him when all of this was over, we're going to take him and a friend to Six Flags without his sister as a payment for being so helpful. So he's doing good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
what about you? How has your life changed?
it's changed a lot. I feel like I'm a pretty extroverted person, so I really enjoy being around people. And so to kind of have instructions to distance yourself, not get near people, and to be isolated, because I live alone. And so at times it's like kind of lonely, kind of like you're by yourself. And so just kind of had to really make the most of the situation, because it seems like we're going to be here for a pretty good while, and so kind of have to figure out how to be independent and how to be able to also just make the most of our life right now, because there are opportunities, and I think that's something we're going to talk about later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good deal.
And so I talked a little bit about it, but how social distancing and isolating for you? Is it something hard for you to do?
I'm kind of an introvert at heart, so I'm okay with staying at home and watching movies. What's been hard though is we like to spend a lot of time with our extended family, and we like to go out and do things that are social on the weekend with friends and things like that. So that's been challenging. But for the most part, I feel like we've done okay.
That's good. Do you have a list of things that you want to accomplish while you are at home? Because we do get to spend a little bit more time at home now.
We do. And I made the promise to myself that I'm not working at all on the weekends. So the weekend is 100% family time and house time. And I've gotten into I don't know if she's still popular or not, the Marie Kondo of home organization. So we've gone through toys and clothes and closets, and so we're getting a lot of organization things knocked out right now.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
So I've been pulling a lot of weeds. Like my garden was full of weeds, and I was like, but like, because we had 2 weeks off while they were preparing for what our next steps were. And so I was like, I've got nothing else really to do. I mean, I've got no excuse not to do it. I considered in the middle of it even hiring someone, but I was like, no, I have the time to do this. I should do it. And so I ended up pulling. So I've been, it's just, the house looks a lot better than it did when I was working. So yeah, just trying to make the most of it. So let's talk about you. So you're a director, and so you're a lot more in the background, making like the organizational decisions and everything. And so this is an opportunity for more people to get to know you more and what you're doing. And so let's talk a little bit about how you got to where you are right now. Like, how long have you been working in prevention services?
So I've been in prevention for 18 years now, and all of that time has been with the Boys and Girls Club. But I just kind of happened into it through my master's program, and every time I think, oh, I should go and try something new, they figure out something else for me to do to keep me occupied and engaged. So it's been around a long time.
What led you to stay in the field? What kept you in this field of prevention?
Sure. So I knew in high school that I wanted to go into a helping profession. So I studied psychology in undergrad at Texas A&M. And I actually was looking at going into counseling. And so I was looking at the University of North Texas catalog of graduate programs, and I was looking for counseling programs, and I came upon public health. And I didn't know really much about it at that point, but everything that I read about it was super interesting to me, and it really spoke to me. So basically the idea of public health, and it's a lot more mainstream now, especially in the midst of what we're going through, but the idea is that, you're able to make changes that affect the community as a whole. So instead of focusing on the individual, you're focusing more on kind of group health. And I've stayed in prevention because it has been a field that kind of changes with research, which I like. I don't really like to do the same thing day in and day out. I'll get bored after a while. So I like that prevention is open to new discoveries. The more we find out about how people operate, the more we're able to kind of meet them where they're at, and develop new ways to help them get the skills that they need to make healthier choices.
Right. What would you say is our vision as a prevention team?
So I see our vision as teaching young people the skills that they need to make healthy, positive choices. Technically, we are funded to provide substance abuse prevention programming. However, I see us more as teaching social emotional learning skills to kids. We are able to give kids the tools they need to cope with whatever life presents to them. And by doing that, they're able to make the right decisions when someone approaches them with drugs or alcohol. So I like to think of it more as social emotional training as opposed to drug prevention.
Yeah, I think what's so I didn't really know about prevention whenever I applied for this job. Like I'm a counselor now. I was an LPC intern whenever I applied for this position. And what makes prevention so unique is how beneficial it is for many areas of our lives. Like you can hear doctors, healthcare, mental health workers would say that prevention is the key in everything almost, and how we need to engage in healthy choices for our physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional well-being before like problems actually happen, because problems are going to happen in our lives whether we want to or not. And I believe that we shouldn't allow problems to happen to cause us to change, but we should always be working towards that goal of self-improvement. And so that's why I think like nobody has it perfect. I think we all can be working on that, just using preventative measures to be able to improve ourselves. Tell us about what we provide as a prevention team at BGC GTC.
So the prevention department has a few different roles. We have a counseling program, so we're able to provide our Boys and Girls Club families with free in-house counseling services. And then we also have our substance abuse prevention programming, where we're able to provide 3 different curriculums to kids, both in our clubs and in the local schools. And in addition to that, we are able to do one-time presentations on alcohol, tobacco, other drugs, bullying, digital safety, what else? Suicide prevention. And we also participate in community events, so health fairs, career days. We do our own large-scale events around Red Ribbon Week, Kick Butts Day, what else? National Drug and Alcohol Facts Week. So we do quite a bit in the community.
Yeah, definitely. What would you say is your favorite part of providing prevention services here in Tarrant County?
Well, like you mentioned before, a lot of my time is spent kind of behind the desk doing the behind the scenes work for the program. So I think my favorite part is actually getting out into the community. A lot of the work that we do, we don't see right away if it's making an impact or not. But when we're face to face with a family and they're able to thank us for what we're doing, we can see that impact right away. I also like the fact that Region 3, which is the Dallas-Fort Worth area, has a very strong prevention organization bond. So we're able to partner successfully with other agencies in our area, and that allows us to combine our resources and our manpower and to do more with the money that we're blessed with spending.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that my favorite thing to do is just to be a part of the community. Like whenever we get to partner with schools and be able to provide the curriculum, Red Ribbon Week is always a blast to be able to go do those presentations, be able to ask people questions about what's happening right now with drugs, alcohol, like tobacco, any of those things, and just the harmful effects of it, and just have a conversation about it is something that I really enjoy. And especially like somebody dressing up as a big dog. That's always fun.
Of course.
Yeah. I did not think that would be part of the job description. But
it falls in the other duties as assigned piece.
Yeah. And so I think so right now we're in a time where our jobs are changing, and we're doing things a little bit differently. And so I wanted to talk to you about, let's talk first about like what's happening right now. What are some
Mhm.
ways that you think people may be struggling with the news, social distancing, and the stay-at-home orders right now?
I think it's hard for a lot of people because, like you mentioned before, we're used to interacting closely with other people, handshakes and hugs, and even just going in and doing the food service in the beginning. It was hard to not stand the normal distance from people that you know and like and want to spend time with. So having to be mindful of how close you're standing to people that you care about has been difficult. I think that being stuck at home all day can be difficult for some families. It was difficult for us in the beginning, and we're fortunate in that we have a nice space where we can spread out, and we have a nice yard where the kids can run around. But some people don't have that luxury. So I think it's hard just for people to break the routine and to be patient.
Yeah, for sure. I think that that's something that I've been seeing is that people are a lot more isolated before than they really knew. Like, I think that we,
Hmm.
in some ways, could have been like with technology and with cell phones and those things and being preoccupied with it. But this just has a different feel to it. It really feels like
Yes.
we really are a little bit, we're in a completely different territory where we really don't have that option. And hopefully it makes us want to change that in the future whenever we are able to go back out in public again. How
Hmm.
do you see like what's happening with the coronavirus and how it's affecting youth and adults and the decisions that they make for now and the future?
So I think that this is new territory for a lot of families. We've never really been through anything like this before. For our family, we are seeing great benefit to slowing down and enjoying the little things. We have a son that plays soccer, and so he practiced soccer 3 nights a week, and we'd have 2 games a weekend, and now we have none of that. So we have a lot of time to just sit and be. But I think other families might be struggling a little bit more. I've had some moments where I've been not so nice to my kids just because I'm trying to get things done and they're adding extra stress and there's nowhere to escape to. So I myself have had to practice some mindfulness techniques to keep myself calm and not overreacting. I think for a lot of families, this is a scary time. There's job insecurity, mounting bills, being around the same people day in and day out can all have a negative effect. And I'm sure you've heard that often during times of crisis, domestic violence and child abuse, and especially substance use, all increase just because a lot of adults don't have the tools they need to help them successfully navigate those negative feelings.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you talked about substance abuse because that is something that we primarily work on as a team to be able to provide presentations. And so
Hmm.
in 2005, August 2005, Hurricane Katrina hit, and it was one of the most deadliest hurricanes to hit the US. And it really affected that
Hmm.
area huge. And here in Texas, we got a lot of people that came because of that for safety and everything. And so something that they found out is that they found out that more people were smoking cigarettes, consuming alcohol at a higher rate than they were before. And then they also found out that 3 years later, the CDC mentioned how hospitalization rate for substance abuse disorders in Louisiana shot up about more than 35% compared to the year before the storm. And so I mentioned this because I feel like there's something similar happening as the Nielsen research, and so I looked this up today, is how alcohol
Hmm.
sales have increased substantially from about a year ago. And so it's possible that people are just buying now just because they might be just stuck at home. And so might not,
Right.
but at the same time, it's very similar to where there's a little bit more of an increase. And so I just wanted to hear your thoughts on whether you think there is going to be an increase or decrease in the youth and adults experimenting with alcohol, drugs, opioids, and tobacco during this time.
Sure. So I see a couple of different sides to this. For adults, I think there's definitely going to be an increase in alcohol in particular. If you think about it, we basically lost our social lives. So it's easy for people to turn to alcohol for entertainment. Likewise, if parents are feeling stressed out, like I mentioned before, they can very easily self medicate with alcohol. Those adults that already have substance use disorders might be likely to turn to more use of their drugs of choice, especially if they don't have to be accountable to a job right now or family outside of their households. And then particularly if they're struggling with mental health disorders, this could be a time where that use could increase. For kids, I could see it going a couple of different ways. So historically, we know that kids tend to use illegal substances when they're bored. You can bet that most kids across the world are bored right now. The flip side to that is that it's probably likely that most of those kids have some parental supervision right now. Plus, most families are forced into more family time, which we know is the single biggest predictor of youth deciding to not use illegal substances. So my hope with the youth is that some strong family bonds are happening right now, and parents are setting the expectations on their children around their expectation of their substance use.
Great, yeah. And so something I want to talk about is something even before this epidemic hit us, something that was a very hot topic among youth culture was vaping. And something that happened was before this all happened, there was an episode of Raven's Home that created an episode centered on vaping, mainly because they wanted to share a message to show the youth dangers of vaping and parents an understanding of vaping as well, because sometimes it can be hidden. And so it's a trend I think that is something to be concerned about, especially during this time. By the way, did you see that episode?
I have not seen it. I need to watch it. I'll watch it this weekend.
Yeah, so it's a good episode for kids to watch, to definitely learn a little bit more about it with peer pressure, and also they talk a little bit about the dangers of it. But I want to talk about this because I don't think people realize this, is what are the risks associated with youth and adults' use of drugs, alcohol, and opioids, and tobacco, and just in general?
Sure. So I think the biggest risk to youth with substance use has to do with their growth and development, especially when the brain is concerned. With things like alcohol, the earlier a child starts using alcohol, the more likely they are to become addicted to it. And additionally, if they can put off drinking as long as possible to the age of 26, their brains would be fully developed at that point. So if they're drinking at 11, 12, 14, their brains are not fully developed. And the chance would be that their brain would not develop appropriately from using alcohol. Other drugs can cause issues around overdose and addiction. With increased marijuana use, we're seeing an increase in the lack of motivation and drive in teenagers. We've also seen studies that link lower IQ to marijuana use, as well as poor attention span and memory. Vaping, which you had mentioned, is a big trend among teens right now, and it's having an impact on lung health at a much more rapid pace than traditional tobacco products. For adults, I think that their issues are going to be more around chronic problems. So kidney and liver disorders, lung diseases, heart disease, a variety of cancers. Also, adults with substance use disorders are going to be more likely to suffer from overdose, accidental injury, and attempted suicide. Adding the coronavirus to the mix adds a whole new layer of problems on top of those.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you talked about that, because the fact that we do have a virus that is among us that's very contagious. And I just want to clarify, I'm not a medical expert, I'm not a scientist or a doctor, so I'm not an expert on COVID-19.
Right.
But I feel like we're all still learning new things about it every day. I think that's why we have the precautions that we have right now, because we're still learning about this. This is still very new to everybody. And so, but I have learned that it is very contagious and it is very easy to spread to so many people very quickly, as we can kind of see just in our area and around the whole world. It started in China and now it's everywhere, like all around the world. It doesn't really discriminate. And so, and this is something the CDC identifies as people who are at risk of catching COVID-19 as people who are smokers. And the thing about them catching it is that because smoking does do damage to your lungs, if you were to say catch COVID-19 as well, then what happens is that you can have a lung infection that aggressively attacks our lungs, even lung cells, and also damages the tissue as well. And so that's why and so this was from the chief medical officer, Albert Rizzo of the American Lung Association, really encouraging people that do smoke to definitely be careful, but also to is an opportunity to be healthier and to not put yourself in that position, because you are a little bit at higher risk when you do choose to smoke, or even like choose to use substances that can affect your health.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think it's just really interesting how like even it seems like it's a separate issue, but it still affects us in all different ways to where we can still make choices that can help us combat those.
Right.
So what are some habits that can affect one's future? So we talked a little bit about it.
Yeah. So habits can go either way. You can develop good habits right now, or you can develop bad habits right now. So some people might be using this time to slow down and develop new habits that are beneficial to their health. Maybe getting a better night's sleep every evening, going on nightly walks or bike rides with their family, enjoying meals together, bonding over games or other activities, catching up with friends digitally. I've had some Zoom meetings with some friends, and of course doing FaceTime with grandparents. But likewise, this could be a time when people could form habits that are going to negatively affect their health, such as drinking in excess every day, overeating, interacting too much with negative TV or social media, not getting enough exercise or social interactions. I think it's just really important that people are mindful about what we're doing and how we're feeling every day, especially right now. And habits can develop relatively quickly, and they can be difficult to break. So we just want to be sure that we're paying attention to what we're doing on a daily basis.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you said that, because I think that we all have good and bad habits that we have developed through our lifetime. And it's hard to change those habits, especially when we have been doing it our whole lives. And so doctors talk about how people with a history of alcohol or substance abuse may be more susceptible to COVID-19 because they are more likely to have a weakened immune system through it. And so, whenever we think about weakened immune system, that's something of a habit that we end up creating. And so that's
Right.
why it's really important to be able to choose the best habits for ourselves. I know that none of us are going to be perfect. We're all going to have it. But there are some things that we can definitely control to be able to develop healthy habits. And I think what's also important is also to understand that it's never too late to change. Even if we have made these bad decisions in the past or anything, we can make changes today to help our body and be able to recover. And it can make a really huge positive impact in our lives.
That's exactly right.
And so why is prevention so important during times like these?
I think prevention is more important now than ever, just given the stressful and anxiety-filled times that we're in. If we have a strong foundation and resiliency in place, then we can more readily cope with the stressors that we're facing. If you don't have the knowledge of how to handle mental health issues, or just days when you just feel off, it's real easy to turn to substances to help fill that void or drown out any negative feelings. If you're feeling that you can cope with what is happening in your life, there are a lot of, if you're not feeling like you can deal with what's happening in your life right now, there's a lot of ways you could reach out to get help. I think our agency website is a good place to start. It's bgcgtc.org. They've done a really fantastic job at putting up resources to help people in these times. So it's a good way to kind of get the ball rolling with finding the help that you might need.
Yeah, definitely. Let me ask you something. So, like, we've talked a lot about like the risks and some of the negative things that are happening in our world right now. I want to be able to provide hope for people during this time, because I feel like there are great opportunities to learn how we can live healthier lives. And so, what are ways we can do that right now? Like, build like better habits. What are some things you would recommend?
I would recommend getting outside. Just going outside in the yard or going for a walk. I know we can't really go to parks right now, but getting fresh air makes a world of difference. not staying cooped up and tuned into negative feeds constantly, I think is going to help a lot. I know it could be hard to have good eating habits right now, especially if grocery stores are lacking some of the things that we usually want to prepare that are healthy. But it's a good time to maybe cook some things that are a little more nutritious and could provide us more energy. And then I think just taking care of yourself, getting a good night's sleep is important, and reaching out to people that make you feel good about yourself, whether that's friends or family. Picking up the phone and calling can make a big difference.
Yeah, that's something I've noticed a whole lot since all this has happened. As I've been seeing way more people outside ever since, and people like families walking together, and and if they're not families, they're definitely keeping their distance, and so they're definitely practicing these habits, but they're still like getting exercise. They're going out of their houses and they're being together. And most of them aren't even on devices as well. They just want to be outside.
Right.
And that's something I really didn't see that much before all this happened. I didn't see that many people outside. I didn't see people really exercising, but people seem to be making that more of a priority right now. And so that's something I hope that we learn from this, is that we we develop these habits, so then we don't take the things that we may have for granted, and just understand how it is good for us to be able to get out and do those kind of things.
Definitely.
Let me ask you something. So our programming has changed because right now we're not seeing kids, and it might be a while till we do. And so a lot of with schools and with our agency right now has virtual programs going on right now as well. Do you think that's something that is going to be done more in the future? Or do you feel like there's also some benefit to having to be in front of people, to work specifically one-on-one, working in group settings with kids, like teachers, and we did before all this happened?
So I kind of think of this as a blessing in disguise, because I've wanted to do some virtual things for a long time, but I never had the push that I needed to get the ball rolling on it. So I think that we're going to start incorporating more virtual technology and presentations and things into our programming. But I don't think that replaces the face-to-face contact that these kids need. We provide a lot of mentoring services for our Boys and Girls Club youth, and the kids look forward to seeing us, whether it's at the schools or at the club site. So it's definitely not going to take away from that, but I think we're definitely going to use this to enhance what we are able to provide.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that that's something that can't be replaced. I think that people are missing that. I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm a touchy person or anything, but definitely do miss being closer to people than 3 to 6 feet.
Right.
And being able to give, not to struggle whether or not to handshake someone, or somebody you want to hug and you just can't really. And so that's something that can't really be replaced. I think human connection is just so important. And I think that's, we're in virtual, and I think Zoom's awesome, by the way. I love Zoom, and I've been loving talking to my friends, and I got to talk with my family from Canada from it. So it's definitely shown some really great opportunities to be able to connect with people that are far away. But at the same time, I feel like there is something about being there in person and human connection that just can't be replaced. All right, so that's all the discussion that we have. So what I have now is I've got a fun game that we can play, and also people can play at home as well. They can even steal my PowerPoint if they want. They can steal the template. And so these are questions you do not know about. These are rapid fire questions. So you just want to answer them as fast as you can. All right?
Okay.
You see it?
Yes.
Yes. It's very similar to the suit I'm wearing right now. That's why I chose.
I like it.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's also my goal. Whenever this thing is done, is that my hair will be that long.
I like it.
I really want it to. I think it might happen just with the rate we're going. So.
Right.
So text or call. So would you rather text someone?
Okay. So before I was isolated, it would have been text. But now I've gotten much more comfortable with my phone calling. So now it's call.
Call. All right. All right, so which one do you like better, Popeye's chicken sandwich or Chick-fil-A's chicken sandwich?
Popeyes.
What? Popeyes?
Yes.
Really?
Have you had it?
I
It's good.
I'll be honest, I haven't had it.
It's good.
Huh. This is something I thought about. This is something that people can do, like during this isolation time, is get one of each to do a blind taste test to see which one
That's right.
Chick-fil-A or Popeyes, and it supports our businesses. So that's
There
another
you go.
on top of this question game. All right, dogs or cats?
Cat.
Cats? Seriously?
Yes.
Oh my god, I'm allergic to cats. They would kill me. I can't.
Cats are low maintenance.
Yeah, that's true. But they also don't seem like they need you either. Like they don't seem like
That's
they're
true.
willing to comfort you or anything. I feel like a dog would be a great time at this time. I think
Oh, for sure.
really great. All right, so next, if you could have 3 people over for dinner, who would it be? And I know that you would choose me, so I'm going to ask you not to choose me in this example. But I know I would
Okay.
be that person. So 3 other people, fictional, historical, dead, alive, whoever.
Okay. Harry Potter.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes. Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh, that would be a good one.
And who's my third? Somebody funny. Steve Martin.
Steve Martin? Oh man, those are good choices. Have you seen
Thanks.
John Krasinski's new Some Good News Network?
I need to watch it.
Oh, because there's this oh gosh, I can't say his name right now. Hamilton guy. He shows up
Yes.
and it is awesome. It's worth watching.
I love it.
Yeah, so definitely check that second episode out.
I will.
Who would you say is your favorite Disney princess?
Moana.
Moana? Yeah, that's a good one. Do you guys watch a lot of Moana right now?
We watch it every second day. Frozen 2 right now is a daily run. So Moana is every other day.
Yeah. It was so nice of them, Disney Plus, to give us Frozen 2 so soon.
Yes.
They felt it. They knew that we needed it. And so.
That's right.
You
Save
guys
the
watch
day.
Frozen 1?
Uh-huh.
That's in the rotation?
Not as often, but
Got
it is in the rotation. Yes.
All right. So if there was a movie about your life, who would you cast to play you?
This one's easy because in high school, everyone thought I looked like an actress. And some people still think I do, even though I've aged. It would be Reese Witherspoon.
Oh, man, that would be good.
Yes.
He would be great. Man, what if
Mhm.
she just came one day? You just had her come and work for you for the day.
That
That
would be awesome.
Probably would.
Right?
Which would you give up, coffee or Diet Coke?
So leading back to our healthy habits discussion, I gave up Diet Cokes over the break, and I've been drinking carbonated water. So I would give up Diet Coke.
Diet
I've
Coke?
already done it.
Which carbonated water are you into?
I'm getting it's the Target brand, but I like the lime and watermelon flavors.
Yeah. Do you get LaCroix?
I've gotten that before. I've gotten a key lime. It's good.
Yeah, LaCroix is great. That's usually mine. Favorite boy band?
I don't see the one I would choose.
That's okay. You can choose any boy band. It doesn't have to be
New Kids on the Block. I'm going to
Oh.
show my age.
Look. Yeah, they were on Fuller House, an episode of Fuller House.
There you go.
To watch. That's another thing you can watch too. What's your favorite reality TV show?
Any of the Real Housewives. That's my guilty pleasure.
Any of them? Have you watched the ones in Dallas?
Yep. I have. They're not the best.
That's not your favorite. Okay.
No.
Right. So which item do you get nervous about needing it during this time? So say you run out of something and you're like, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it if it runs out.
I'm going to go with toilet paper because we've been there. I went to 3 different grocery stores before Fiesta had the toilet paper that saved us. So toilet paper for the win.
Yeah. I was fortunate. I bought it right before all this happened. But and so that's something I'm least concerned about, especially being one person. You're really not concerned about having
Right?
But soap. I feel like soap is the one that is really nerve wracking to not,
Yes.
because everyone's telling you wash your hands, to
Wash your hands.
do all this stuff. And so if you don't have soap, that's really hard. I probably have to just use my body wash in the shower if that happens.
Yep.
Probably.
That'd work.
Hopefully that's just as good. We'll find out eventually. All right. So last thing I want to do before I let you go, I want to
Sure.
ask you 3 questions that I want to ask everybody during this time. So what would you say is the one thing that you miss during this isolation and quarantine period?
Bottomless chips and salsa.
Where do you want to go to get that whenever, say, everything is lifted and we can go to restaurants again?
So I think my answer would be Rancho Grande on Main Street.
All right. Good deal. Let's see here. Next one. What is one thing you have learned the most through this time?
I think aside from virtual meeting setup, it would be getting used to seeing a picture of myself chalking on the computer every day.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I use it that much. No, I use it probably at least once a week. And Camp Gladiator is now on virtually.
Oh, good.
And so you have to, so you'll see yourself a little bit on there as well. So I've used it, but I guess I don't look at myself as much on it. All right, so last question. What is one thing you most look forward to when we are free again, when the world is like how we remembered it, normal, we're able to have no fear, just be like free out there? What's something that you look forward to?
I look forward to getting to hang out at my parents' house again. We were used to seeing them at least twice a week, so it will be nice to go and hang out in their backyard when all this is over.
Yeah, for sure. Great. Well, I want to say thank you so much for being my first guest. You were my first choice, obvious choice.
Yay, thank you.
Here. And also just for all the work that you're doing and for just being an amazing boss. And I'm not just saying this just so that you may give me a raise one day. I'm grateful for getting to work with you and getting to be a part of this experience with you. And so I appreciate your time and just being able to be here. And I'm so glad that we had this opportunity so other people can get to know you and get to know like your knowledge and your vision and just like all that you do. And so I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Thanks, Alan. I'm really excited about this project, so I cannot wait to see all the other interviews you do. And I'm really thankful to be the first one to do it. So thanks.